kwa ukombozi wetu. Tujitoe wenyewe, tusimame pamoja kulinda uhuru na umoja wetu. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote, tuimbe pamoja, kuenzi shikamano hatima yetu. Tujitoe wenyewe kupambana pamoja, uhuru na umoja vitawale. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote na tujibidishe kutoa kilicho bora kwa Afrika, chimbuko la wanadamu, chemchemi ya utamaduni, tumaini letu wakati wa mafarakano. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima.
Let us make Africa the tree of life. Let us make Africa the tree of life. My name is Kato Mukasa. I'm a Ugandan interested in issues, human rights and development. And this is Humanist TV Africa, where we always have an opportunity to get people to educate us and to learn from them, but also to share with the world. I want to encourage you to please subscribe to Humanist TV Africa. That is our Facebook name, but also our YouTube name. It is Humanist TV Africa. I want also to encourage you to please send us an email. Our email is info@humanisttvafrica.com. Plus our WhatsApp number is right there. Brian Kabeko is the spokesperson of this organization. He's based in Nairobi, Kenya. We'll be able to respond to you. Now, today we are going to be handling something very important, and we want to go direct to it. This is the episode number 5, where we talk about issues to do with health, but specifically food and the rights thereto. Today we are talking about unmasking aflatoxins, the silent threat in our food chain. And this is episode 5. We are happy to be able to always have our able guests, Mr. Kimera Henry, and of course Bernard Bambale. And today we are very proud to be having an additional team of experts, Madame Agnes Kirabo from Food Rights Alliance, Uganda, right there, should be able to tell us more about her work. And of course, Professor Kaya, an academia from the Noble Makerere University. We are so proud to have you today. I will start with the guests for today. Let us start with the gentleman on the top, who is Professor Aklio Kaya. You are most welcome, sir. Let us hear from you, a bit of introduction from you.
Thank you very much, moderator. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Professor Aklio Kaya from the Department of Food Technology and Nutrition, Makerere University, where I have been teaching for about 35 years right now. So I do specialize in food safety, food science and technology, various areas of really food science and technology, especially food safety with mycotoxins, of course, taking a lead in that area, nutrition and so forth, as may be required Thank you, but with that great experience, definitely.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Akleo Kaya from the Noble Macquarie University, which is also my university there, and has been there for 35 years. Quite very interesting there. You have done a lot of good work. I left there 22 years ago. Now you have been there for 35. Quite an incredible kind of work you are doing for Uganda. I respect teachers, I should say. I love teachers. That's why I always give them the best credit ever because they make us who we are today. I want to, in the studio, to welcome Machala Agnes Kilabo, who is the Executive Director of Food Rights Alliance. Right there, should be able to have a word with us and, of course, get to know her a little more. Madam Kilabo, if you're ready, we want to welcome you to also give us a bit of an introduction.
Okay, and thank you so much, Mr. Kato Mokasa. Greetings to our viewers wherever you are. Agnes Kirabo is my name. I'm a food and agriculture policy analyst. I work for an organization called the Food Rights Alliance here in Uganda. And Food Rights Alliance is an organization that is working to see that there is an enabling environment for all of the actors in the entire food systems to do what they are doing and do it responsibly and do it well, such that we can live in a world free from hunger and malnutrition. We talk about food, we do food, we think food, and everything. We do believe that food first, everything comes later. But one of the philosophical foundations are that if anything is not safe, it is not food. So we strongly subscribe to food safety. We strongly subscribe to nutritious diets. We strongly subscribe to health diets for all. And therefore, we actually believe that this is possible. But besides, if it is not possible, then it is an issue of a human rights violation that must be addressed with remedy. So I'm happy to be here and to talk about the number one food safety killer,
Yes, right there. Yes, Miss Kirabo, Madam Kirabo is a bit off. Remember, we are live always. You have to excuse us when things go not the right way, but she'll be back very soon. Now, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction from Agnes Kirabo. That was quite a good one. I always learn from these professors. Yeah, everyone here is my teacher in one way or another. So let us hear from Mr. Kimera.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to all those that are in different time zones. I am
Yeah.
greatly honored to be with you on the fifth episode, and I am greatly honored to be joined by my other two colleagues. And like Kato, you were boasting to have been in Makerere for so many years. I also boast that I have worked with Professor Kaya for a while, and I'm very happy that when he's called the professor of aflatoxin, at times in Amantinangi, I hold his bag at times because when I started to do food safety and do talk about aflatoxin, I found Professor Kaya. These days, they say he's not only the professor of aflatoxin, he might end up being the judge of aflatoxin because he has talked about aflatoxin for so long that even different people now nearly want to link it to him, but positively because he's making awareness and bringing the plight of aflatoxin to consumers who are knowledgeable and not unknowledgeable. So, colleagues, it is a great honor And like we said in the first 4 episodes, we are going to stick around and talk about food in all its angles, like it is in nearly so many recipes. And this is how we would like to talk about food safety. Like we requested, month of February is going to be dedicated to aflatoxin. Now, why aflatoxin? Because aflatoxin, like you listen from Professor, it is nearly everything in food. It is everything in cereals. It is everything nearly in animal feed, and in particular, animals that produce food or food producing animals. So, as consumers, the biggest socioeconomic group, we need to listen in, understand, and aflatoxin is mainly challenged and mainstreamed with poor food governance. I need to repeat it. It is mainly manifested with poor food governance. I know Agnes talked about the enabling environment. Still, the enabling environment is made possible by governance. So, food governance is a major issue. So, I am honored to join this. And Kato, thank you for being a good student and coming up with innovations that are bringing the global world together. Thank you and look forward to our discussions.
I'm honored, sir. I'm honored, sir, that whatever you taught me in that specialized program, I'm putting it forward because you taught us about food rights and consumer rights. I mean, food and consumer rights, which was something new to me because I hadn't studied at Makerere University. So when you taught us that, I thought I should also find a way to promote it in a way. So let's hear from Mr. Bernard Bwambale.
Yeah, thank you so much, colleagues, for the opportunity. And to Professor Kaya and Ms. Agnes, we thank you for joining us on this show. Those are our seniors in this field. They have made us who we are. So we want to appreciate you for joining us. Of course, my name is Bernard Wambale. I'm a nutritionist and a food safety advocate. And of course, today I will be sharing with us, just like Professor Kaya and Agnes will be sharing with us. We shall keep on sharing experiences here and there for our audience to understand these aspects. Yeah, thank you so much. And I think we shall keep on discussing during the course of the discussions. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bernard. Thank you so much. Of course, our viewers are sending us messages. Right now, I've got a message from South Africa from our friend Dean Kruger, a very, very active viewer of this show. Dean Kruger in South Africa says, thank you guys. We are learning from you. Thank you, Dean, of course, for following and giving us the comments right there. Now, we are going to start right away with Professor Kaya. And the question in before us is, first of all, ask me as an ignorant person who doesn't know about food science. My first question would be, what are aflatoxins? But also help us and take us through the science of aflatoxins.
Yep. Thank you very much, Kato. That's a very good and pertinent question. And I try as much as possible to explain it from first principles, of course, based on the fact that we have both scientists and non-scientists. Now, from first principles, when we talk about food safety, we are referring to a situation where food contains objects that can cause harm, that can injure the consumer. So these can be biological, that is, for example, those which have got life, like microorganisms, and then we have got those which are physical, like stones, metals, etc. And then those which are chemical, those which are now chemicals in nature, and they don't have life. So these chemicals, which can be actually toxins, can really cause injury to the consumer when they are in significant quantities. Now, aflatoxins are a type of chemicals, which can be in food and they can cause harm to the consumer. How do they come into food? Um, Food can be contaminated by a number of microorganisms: the bacteria, the fungi, the viruses. These can directly consume the food, or when they are consuming the food, because they also want to grow and multiply. So when they are consuming the food, some of them can produce toxins, waste products. Just like when we eat, we produce the feces and also the urine. So some of these microorganisms can produce the toxins, these chemicals which don't actually have life. So they are waste products. Similarly, fungi, as I said, one of the categories of microorganisms, when they invade the food, some of them, apart from directly consuming the food, and of course causing decay or rotting, they can even produce toxins, secondary metabolites. Now, particularly for this type of toxins, the aflatoxins, you see, let me also categorize fungi into two categories. There are those which normally, contaminate, food which has got a lot of water, high moisture content food. But there are also those which contaminate low moisture content food. For example, food which has been dried. So those which normally contaminate food which has got a lot of moisture are found, for example, in the field. Like, watermelons can be 98% water. They can be contaminated by microorganisms. But here we are going to be talking about specifically a category of fungi which contaminate foods that have been dried, whose moisture content has been reduced from, say, 20% and below, up to when you reach a level where they cannot actually survive. So these fungi, um, when they enter the food which has got suitable moisture content for them low, they start eating, consuming, and then they produce waste products. These waste products are known as mycotoxins. Scientifically, the fungal toxins. Now, out of the so many, actually, they say there are over 200 mycotoxins. Those which are of great importance are few. There are there may be about 7, 8 there, and they may include number one, aflatoxins, and I will tell you why they are called aflatoxins. Two, we have got fumonicins, we have got zeranons, we have got T2 toxins, etc. Patrin. Now aflatoxins are number one out of those to be in terms of potent, in terms of importance, negative importance. So the kind of molds of fungi which produce aflatoxins are known as aspergillus flavus. So the name aflatoxins comes from that type of fungus, aspergillus flavus, because it produces those toxins which I talked about. So we have aspergillus flavus toxins, hence the name aflatoxins. So that's now the brief about that's why they are known as aflatoxins. So sometimes people say afrotoxins. Sometimes they misspell the name, but actually it is supposed to be
Afla.
aflatoxins,
I'm learning.
because the fungus that produces them is known as Aspergillus flavus. That's the scientific name, Aspergillus flavus. Then toxins. So these Aspergillus flavus toxins were discovered in the 1960s, when the young of the turkey ate a meal. They were fed to a feed, which had the peanut granules in it, and then they died in large numbers. So scientists at that time went and took the feed, the remnants of the food into the feed into the lab, and they found out that it contained the significant quantities of those toxins, but they appear in minute quantities. So then from that time, actually research started, including, by the way, in Uganda, because our aflatoxins have been reported as far as 1967. So you have some publications of 1967, 1980, I mean 1970 there. People had started studying about aflatoxins. But of course, when the whites left during Idi Amin's time, Now work has stopped until late 1990s when we actually resumed. So these toxins, what I want people to differentiate between aflatoxins, which are toxins themselves, which are poisonous, and the fungi that produce them. Because sometimes people see, maize which is moldy, and then they say this is aflatoxin. No, what you are seeing are signs, or they may be spores of the molds, are not the toxins. So the aflatoxins don't have life; they are chemicals produced by these fungi. So when they are produced by being chemicals, even if you cook food, even if you heat food, they don't actually die because they don't have life. So they say that the temperature at which you can destroy aflatoxins is about 420 degrees C. I always compare this with the temperature at which we roast groundnuts. Groundnuts are normally roasted at around 120 degrees Celsius. So if you increase to about 130 up to 150, you have to turn the groundnuts so fast that they don't burn. But imagine if you are going to eat groundnuts which don't have aflatoxins completely eliminated, you have to roast them at 420 degrees Celsius, meaning that you are now going to eat ash completely. So they are not destroyed by heat, ordinary heat, cooking methods. They don't smell, and they are actually cannot be seen using our naked eyes. So we have to be very, very, very careful about them. Their effects, they always actually appear in very minute quantities. That's where, in fact, we talk about parts per billion. So the levels which are very, very effective, are about to anything about to, like in Uganda, we have got our regulatory level, which is 10 parts per billion. So anything above that, you never know, it may actually cause a serious problem. So that's how best I can simply or simplify the definition of aflatoxins. They are chemicals produced by a fungus known as Aspergillus flavus. Of course, these days there are even other fungi which are being reported to produce aflatoxins. For example, Aspergillus parasiticus, Aspergillus niger, but mainly, in order to not confuse people, we stick to Aspergillus flavus toxins. Thank you very much. I don't know whether I need now to go ahead and tell you the kind of foods which are contaminated or not, or I just leave it at this level. It is upon you to guide me, sir.
No, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Professor. To me, I've learned. I should tell you, I'm in class here. I'm even taking my notes. For the first time, I've learned that there is a terminology. There is a fungus called Aspergillus flavus toxins. So I'm learning. I'm in class, and of course, you have told us that you need to kill them. You need over 420 degrees. That kind of heat. Therefore, you cannot kill them. And it's a chemical produced by these fungus. Now, I believe that so many people are actually learning from you and from this television. And thank you so much for educating us. Now, let us going back to you, and you continue educating us. That very next phase you wanted to go into.
The kind of foods which are normally contaminated by the fungus, such that it produces these toxins in there, include mainly the cereals, because remember I said that this type of fungus contaminates the foods which are of low moisture content. In other words, food which is being dried. So most of the cereals definitely are consumed when they are dried. Of course, we have maize which is fresh and whatever, that one no problem. But the maize that has been dried, maize, sorghum, millet, even cassava, by the way, it's not a cereal, but all these dried food stuffs. So we're talking about cereals, we're talking about cassava, we're talking about groundnuts. Those are very good candidates. Aflatoxins have also been reported in soybean. They have been reported in simsim, sunflower, and even fish, mokene.
Yes.
because you know very well that mukene is dried, and in most cases it is dried on bare ground, along the sand. So mukene has been found to be a very good candidate. So when you have our foods, especially the flowers which we normally feed to babies, being made from mukene, we have to be very, very careful. We may be poisoning our babies. And then animal feeds, because the major ingredients of animal feeds, of course, in most cases are maize, and then mukene, soybean, even cotton seed cake has been found to be a very good candidate for aflatoxins. So you can see most of the ingredients, the major ingredients of animal feeds, being made from susceptible commodities. Sometimes they can contain aflatoxins to significant levels that may affect our animals, especially the poultry. The poultry industry has been hit very badly by aflatoxins. So these toxins can also be in the body, can be broken down by the liver, and then the remnants may be sent to products, like milk. So milk for both animals and even mothers, lactating mothers can have aflatoxins. Eggs can have aflatoxins. Meat can have aflatoxins. These products are also very good candidates for aflatoxins. Yeah.
Wow. Now that is quite shocking and disturbing. Very disturbing to me who loves Mukene. I should tell you, growing up in Uganda, my mother is a nurse, retired almost 80 years. She used to get a buy Mukene, we pound it, and then have that flour, and then put it in whatever sauce we are eating, because she was like saying, this is a part of nutrition that every child needs. So I'm a Mukene eater. So when we are talking, I was paying attention to my mukene, because up to now, when I find mukene, I eat. Now,
Yeah.
this is terrible because aflatoxins are almost everywhere in these foods. I want to ask you, Doctor, Professor, before we leave you. Yes, I've heard you can get it in these and other foods. Exactly which diseases do we get out of having aflatoxins in our bodies?
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. You see, apart from being an issue for trade, and of course food security, aflatoxins can lead to several healthy implications. First of all, in the body, aflatoxins have been found to bind important nutrients, which include proteins, minerals like iron, zinc, etc. And when they do that, they directly affect the body. That's why stunting has been directly linked to aflatoxins. And what you need to know is that the effects of aflatoxins actually start right when the fetus is in the body. Why? Because scientists tell us that these terrible toxins can cross the placental barrier, which is supposed to be
Mm,
protecting the fetus. When the fetus is in the womb, supposed to be protected, I think, against poisoning by the mother's blood, by that barrier. But aflatoxins can actually cross, so they start right away affecting the fetus when the mother consumes foods which are rich in aflatoxins. So the effects actually start much earlier, and then continue if the mother, for example, has got aflatoxins in the milk, and then when the winning foods contain aflatoxins, so the poisoning can actually be continuous. Now, apart from that, they have been directly linked to kwashiorkor because of, as I have said, binding proteins and other important nutrients in the body. So they have been strongly linked to reduced immune system because of still binding important nutrients in the body. Now, apart from that, they can cause what they call acute toxicity. If you eat food containing high levels of aflatoxins, you can die immediately because of their effects the liver and other organs in the body. Just like what happened in Kenya, in the years 2004 and thereafter, so many people actually
mm,
died because of consuming food that had so many levels of aflatoxins. Then
okay.
the biggest challenge we have now in Uganda is liver cancer. So aflatoxins have been, linked to chronic, diseases, especially liver cancer, hepatocellular carcinoma. So because the liver is the one which normally detoxifies, you know uh, 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 removes the toxic agents from our bodies, you find out that even aflatoxins are included. So these aflatoxins tend to bind permanently to liver enzymes, making it unable to function properly, and in the end, of course, now it turns to be damaged, so leading to liver cancer. They have also been linked to increased or enhanced hepatitis B virus, disease, still because of their effects on the liver. So these are not serious. These are not easy, things. Actually, it is very, very serious. And I was reading one of the newspapers, I think around November, when there was a serious campaign against aflatoxins in this country by Parliament, and the minister, the PS Minister of Health was reporting that the Cancer Institute receives 56 cases of liver cancer, I think every week, because of consuming aflatoxin contaminated foods. So it is not something that small that we are really talking about. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's from the health point of view.
Thank you, sir. I'm really worried, I should say. For the first time, I'm very worried. You have explained everything, and I really got everything in my abrongata here, and I feel I'm scared now. Liver cancer and all that. Because to me, I get it as liver, as the poisoning, as food poisoning, more of the same now. I want to encourage our viewers to take this kind of show very seriously. Please learn and secure your lives. Your lives are in your hands. Remember, our food can be our own diseases, can be our own poison. Our viewer here says, it's called Viola, says, I'm learning greatly from this show. Well done. They are thanking you, Professor Kaya, for that elaborative teaching. We are learning, I should tell you. Now, I want to invite Mr. Kimera, in light of the fact that Madame Kelawa is not here. I want to invite you to give us a brief on the role of and stakeholders' role on managing and preventing aflatoxins. So let us hear from you, Mr. Kimera, talk about aflatoxins, especially from the angle of CEOs, community society organization, and of course other non-government organizations. Let us hear from you. What are you doing to create awareness to stop us from getting damaged through aflatoxins? Mr. Kimera, if you are ready, you can give us your input. If you are still struggling the network.
No, I'm not struggling.
Yes.
Paul, I'm not struggling. It is only that, like I told you earlier, I'm a proud parent, like many parents. I'm at the graduation party of my daughter. She has hosted different siblings. So when you saw me, I was inside the hall. So I've stepped out to come and add to this important subject. When I was doing a little bit of due diligence, how they have prepared the food and how they are handling everything, people were saying, why is this man so curious? I said, but I don't want people who come to this function, because I was telling her, your guests not need to get food poisoning and so forth. So I'm not in charge of everything, but that's when I only said something. Now the question you have asked and the issues that you're raising are very pertinent issues. And now, what are we doing as advocacy organizations, civil society organizations? Colleagues, you will appreciate that civil society organizations are the ear on the ground. They are the voices of the voiceless, the voice of the resource poor, and also they are uh, 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 in, entities that reach out to bring out issues that are affecting the vulnerable, even those that do, who are resourceful, they need the civil society to raise the other voice. So, as civil society organizations, we find and we invest in inputting to make sure that the societies that we live in are healthy, societies that we live in are productive, societies that we are in make sure that the resources they have are not wasted on unsustainable aspects. So herein, like my other colleagues, and we join hands with the academia to make sure that the academia does research. Academia gives us empirical evidence. We do community and or community awareness through communication, through engaging with different players to make sure that these communities know. Further, we build capacity of different agencies, different people. There is Bernard will tell you that during our work, there are people who are supposed to protect consumers, but when we share with them, they end up saying, we didn't know that this is happening. I'll give you just one small example. In October, we did do comparative testing exercises, and we asked all the participants to carry their favorite products. And one shopkeeper carried his best product, but when he weighed it on the weighing scale, he found that he was losing 10 grams per kilo. It is because his weighing scale was not calibrated. So he was very annoyed with himself that he nearly, he was nearly blaming. But we say, but you are not following the standard, because there is a weights and measures standard and the labeling standard, and you are not following any of this. So as civil society, we are there to build capacity to make sure that all players who are serving consumers do better business and do provide safe, quality products. The other aspects that we do as civil society organization is the advocacy to make sure that the environment, that's why from episode 1 to the 5th episode, continuously bring in the aspect of food governance. And where we say that the vagaries, the dangers of unsafe food come in if there isn't quality governance. Quality governance brings in quality policies, quality regulations, quality laws, investment in aspects that will provide a quality culture. Food safety is a subset of a quality culture. So the food safety culture is only facilitated and enabled by having quality food governance. Like Professor Kaya, today he has not shared it, but he always says a country will never have security without food safety. I don't know if Professor I missed that, but I always like you when you rub it in when you are advocating, talking to the duty bearers and telling them you can never have a national security without food safety. So,
Right.
as civil society organizations, that is our role to bring to the attention of the duty bearers. That is our role to tell the consumers, the business communities, that once consumers are affected, we are not going to have a productive nation. You are not going to have a productive market. You are going to be a burden to the national economy. So, Kato, I can stop there for now, but I would rub it in that quality governance provides quality food governance and provides a healthy nation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That is quite an education to us. Thank you so much for educating us. I was speaking it you normally speak what you have just said, attributing it to Professor Kaya, that no country can have peace without food. You always say that. And remember, Mr. Kimera, I told you one day that my noble maternal grandfather taught me one thing, one important lesson. He said that if you don't have a garden, if you don't have food, don't marry. And he told me that a man's worth is measured by the size of their gardens and the ability to feed their families. That was my grandfather about 30 something years ago. Now, to me, it was the best lesson I learned. Now, when you say that no country can be safe without food security, I agree with you, because food wars, food revolutions normally fail governments. People go to streets and fail governments. The French Revolution was begun by food, bread. Antoinette and others were joking with food, and the government went. So food is very important. That's why you have this show, because apart from keeping us safe, we also want to learn how do we have this food. Now, having said that, I wish my sister Agnes can be able to connect finally and be able to talk with us. I'll take you back to Mr. Bernard Bwambale. If Bwambale, you can unmute yourself, if you can hear us. I want us to hear from you briefly in the footsteps of Mr. Kimera. What are you guys in the NGOs doing? Because imagine me, I'm hearing this for the first time. To be honest with you, I'm hearing this aflatoxins for the first time, and I'm hearing that actually lead to food poisoning. Is it because I'm ignorant? I don't know. Because I remember I was watching news and I saw hundreds of people dying in Kenya after taking a blue beer something. I think it was sorghum or something. They died. It was news everywhere. And it got me worried. Like, food poisoning is real. Now, I'm also very ignorant, by the way. Now, imagine, yet I went to school. now, imagine so many other people who have never gone to school. You simply go and eat your stuff. Now, I'm asking you guys in the NGO, what are you doing to educate us? Bernard.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Mukasa and Professor Kaya and Chimera for sharing with us. I think Chimera really brought out what exactly we do. Just imagine you with your 3 degrees and you have never heard about aflatoxins, and now you've heard about them from us. So that is one thing that we do on a daily basis. But of course, you know, we need to talk about the masses, how many people are we able to reach out to, how many people are we able to influence, how many people are we able to tell about this, and then we look at social behavior change issues. So we do really a lot of advocacy about this subject and other subjects, just like we've been talking about in the previous 4 discussions we've been having. But of course, as civil society, our interest around investing in such kind of activities to make sure that the communities are aware of exactly what we do. And then the communities can be able to, you know, improve here and there. We even go an extra mile to reach out to the farmers who are producing this food on the aspects of how they should be able to handle food. Because our professor is going to tell us that, of course, for us to manage aflatoxins, there are a number of things that can be done actually for us to prevent aflatoxins. But the question is, who knows those steps that we can undertake to prevent this? And it's upon us, the CSOs, to be able to reach out to the communities down there, and also looking at the national spaces. I wanted to, in my sharing, I had wanted to share with the listeners, the viewers out there, the report for 2022. The global cancer data is out, showing us statistically how many people suffered from cancer in 2022. And you know, the figures were very alarming, that in 2022 alone, about 19 million people suffered from cancer. And out of those, about 9.7 million of them died actually of cancer. And very surprisingly, the top 5 cancers that killed the majority of these 9 million were actually associated with, you know, with food. I would say really with food, because we are talking about liver cancer. We are talking about 5% of the people who died of cancer in 2020 died because of liver cancer. And this is one of the cancers that could have an association with aflatoxins that we are discussing this afternoon. We even have 6.9 of the people who died of cancer in 2022. They actually died of stomach cancer, which also seemingly has a relationship with the food that people are consuming currently. So if you look at other types of cancers that were very prominent in 2022, we had, colorectal cancer to deal with, the rectum, small intestine or large intestines. All these cancers, they are related to aflatoxins, to unsafe food, unsafe water. And this is why it is upon us to actually talk about it, discuss it, teach our people what exactly happens. But of course, as usual, we are always let down by some bit of systems, our systems, governance structures. Now, I want to give an example. In Uganda, in the year 2023, and I think also in 2022, you realize that Kenya rejected our maize. And also Sudan at the end of last year, towards the end of last year, even Sudan, Southern Sudan, the most vulnerable country, also rejected our maize. And the single reason why the Ugandan maize was rejected, it was just because it had higher levels of aflatoxins that we are discussing today. Now, the question we are asking ourselves, how did this maize, first of all, leave this country and go to another country? So it means that there's so many tons of maize that were rejected. That is loss of money. And so when you're talking about socioeconomic development, it means that we did not get that international rate of selling that maize. And secondly, the question we have always asked ourselves, when this maize was rejected at the border points of Sudan and Kenya respectively, where did it go? Did it come back to the population? Was it consumed by now the Ugandans? Why should food be rejected in one country but consumed in our own country? Now, these are the realities that we need to bring out as civil society spaces to discuss with government that, okay, as we export food, there is a system, there is a standard somewhere that has to be met. Does it mean that this food went to the border points before that process is done? Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves. And this is the role of civil society, to make government accountable to the citizens. And that is what we've been doing on a daily basis. And I think that's why Professor was saying, if not Chimera, that Parliament, there was a campaign on aflatoxins just because the civil society space had brought a lot of noise about it. So we need a lot of work. We need to do a lot of work in regard to fighting off this. Otherwise, the entire population is likely to suffer consequences of aflatoxins. Maybe as I conclude this opportunity you gave me, look at our schools. Almost all schools depend on maize meal, posho, or this is maize. Now, UNBS a few years ago released a notice that all schools should buy grain from certified service providers. Now, it's barely 3 years ago, and we've not seen this happen. So the question is, who is supposed to ensure that the schools are actually giving children food from certified sources? But also the other question would be, is it easy to certify this food in this country? Do we have the services in place that are adequate to certify cereals, to make sure that these cereals are actually meeting the standards? Otherwise, if we have about 4 or 5 million children in school and they're all depending on posho every single day, it means you have about 4 million plates per day that you serve to these children. Now, if this maize they're consuming is actually having aflatoxins, what is the future risk of almost everyone having effects of aflatoxins? These are the contextual issues that the society has to understand, and then we have a mindset change, and we drive this agenda until everybody knows it's safe. If it's only food when it's safe, the moment it's not safe, then it ceases to be food. And maybe the very last idea that I think about is the food system has changed because of moral and cultural degradation. I would say moral decadence. In our society, food was handled. I don't know. Our elders used to handle food in a manner that food is protected from anything that can spoil it. Unlike these days, in the olden days, you wouldn't see a person drying food on a tarmac road because there was that cultural morality. Now, because of this degradation of morals and culture, People can dry food on tarmac roads, on rusted iron sheets, on bare ground. And surprisingly, every food processing industry or factory is supposed to have a moisture regulator, meaning that when they bring cereals for you to process, there is that obvious thing that you need to check out for moisture content. But what we are seeing is that most of these companies or food processing sites, they don't have any moisture meters. So you get someone with maize which is really dry to the level acceptable, and then they mix it with maize which is actually not dry. So what happens at the end of the day is that you have food which is molding, and so the risk of producing aflatoxins. And this is the environment in which we are living in. And this calls for morality and cultural, go back to the culture. What is our tradition? How are we handling food? How do we manage food? And at the end of the day, I think if we go back to that, we can change society and we can improve the status quo of aflatoxins and also other unsafe food situations. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. That you have educated me. You have educated me. I always say, despite my education, you say 3 degrees. Yes, I have 3 degrees diplomas, but I'm ignorant. For the first time, I learned aspergillus flavus toxins from the doctor there, from the professor there. So I'm ignorant. I keep on learning because I didn't study everything. Now, secondly, my father died from stomach cancer. And we have had issues of stomach cancers in my family. So it is very touching to me when I hear what you people have said, because I think we have a problem. And I think we are not doing enough to educate our people, to educate ourselves, to be conscious. You made a very important statement there about food safety as we are concluding, Bernard, that if you don't teach these things, they are going to haunt us. Now, I want to invite the professor to give us a closing note. Maybe in the future, if we have time, we shall get you back because this is a very big subject. I know at Makere I've taught for 30 years, which means every day is something new you should be teaching us. Maybe next time when we have time, you'll come again and educate us. Now, I want you to take this opportunity, sir, to give us give us a summary of what you have studied today, what you have taught us today, and then give us a benchmark going forward. Then we shall look at the way forward based on what you have taught us.
Thank you very much. I wish I could have much more time to educate the public about this important food safety issue. What I want people to remember is that aflatoxins are not easy to eliminate from the food. Once they are there, they are not very easy to eliminate because they are actually chemicals. They don't have life. Even if you want food, even if you eat food, you're not going to remove them. So there's the very important aspect which my colleague Bambali was touching, the why. Many people are saying, but why are we talking about aflatoxins now and not in the past? Were they not there? What you need to remember is that now we have opened up ourselves. What used to be food crops in the past is now food for export, food for trade. Maize, groundnuts, etc. are traded everywhere. That's why Mr. Wambali was talking about our maize being rejected, in the international, markets where they are very stringent, where they are very strict with the regulations. Our poor governance here, the food control system is very poor. So if we are going to consume the food within, we may not be able to reject the food ourselves because of the poor, governance. But once we talk about export, we have to comply to the standards, and aflatoxins is one of those regulated, standards in the food. So let us try to control. Secondly, Mr. Mambala has talked about a very important, issue, the moral decay, the morals. Where did they go? If you look at the way people are processing groundnuts, in these markets, we buy groundnuts which are pounded. The
Yes.
technology is very good because it saves time. You don't have to go back home and pound and whatever. But what kind of groundnuts are they actually milling? The poorest of the poor, the rotten, the what, and they even add anything there. So when you take those in the lab, you determine them in terms of aflatoxin, you find the highest levels are in there, because people are not concerned. Secondly, the lack of awareness, I think, is also serious. So that's why it is important that we bring in this kind of awareness campaigns, because if people are aware and they are careful about what they consume, they should be able to reject some of these poor quality produce. So awareness is very, very important. But ladies and gentlemen, let us handle our food very well. Let us stop drying food on the bare ground, because
Yeah.
the fungi that produce these toxins, soil is the best medium for them to survive.
Mm.
So when you put the produce directly on the bare ground, you're just giving it food to start eating and then produce the toxins. When we are processing our food, like for example shelling, let us not beat to damage the grains, because once you
Mm.
damage the grains, then the toxins, I mean the fungi will enter very easily and produce the
Okay.
toxins. Then let us dry our food properly. Let us handle the food properly. We can very, very easily minimize contamination by these, fungi which produce aflatoxins. Despite the fact that you cannot avoid them because of the nature of our environment, we are within the tropics, which have suitable temperature and also rainfall for the molds to grow. But we can
Mm.
minimize through proper handling of the food. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That is an education to me. I should tell you, you have given me another master's in food nutrition now. I'm really proud of this show and, of course, proud of your contribution today. And, of course, all the participants, all the guests who come here and educate us. Me, I learn every day because you tell us today, you have taught us how basically these fungals come to be because of the way we handle food. When I was in where I grew up from, somewhere in Rengo, we used to put food on the ground, cassava, they dry it on the ground, maize, they put it on the ground. I think we are learning now that we have to get like a tundubali. I don't know those guys would understand tundubali.
Yes.
You get a sheet and put it
The
there down so
tarpaulin.
that people don't taplin. That's the right word. Thank you so much, sir. Now, these are things we should do as people in Africa. In fact, I want to invite Dennis Bongole to give us the comments, some of the comments from our viewers, so that you can be able to read them before we shut down. Food Rights Alliance says masses lack civic consciousness and competence across the food value chain regarding the risks posed by aflatoxins and the potential opportunities associated with aflatoxin control. Yes, we lack civic consciousness. It's true. At least in my village and my district, where Mr. Kimana comes from, yes, we are ignorant. We need to be educated. Most of us are very, very ignorant. Nakasi Harriet says, I agree with you. CSOs are playing a big role in advocating for issues affecting the public in general. Yes, Harriet, that is right, true. But I want CSOs to do more. Please do more of these programs. Go in our villages, teach us. Dean Kruger from South Africa says, I wonder what effect climate change will have on aflatoxins. Maybe it can mutate. I'm going to take this back to Professor, even when he had closed.
Yes.
I'm going to take this back to Professor to explain. I wonder what effect climate change will have on aflatoxins. Maybe it can mutate. Professor, what's your view?
Yes, a very good comment. Really, climate change can be manifested in form of, for example, excessive rainfall, just like we had this time. During the period of December, when it is supposed to be a dry spell for farmers to particularly harvest and dry their produce, we continue to have rain. So this rain meant that farmers cannot, who depend on open sunshine to dry their produce, cannot dry the produce adequately, meaning that the produce are going to be wet, and then when they are wet, they are going to be actually contaminated with molds very, very highly, and then the levels of aflatoxins will be quite a lot. Drought. We normally in Uganda we practice rain-fed agriculture. When there is no rain, drought, the crops in the field will be so susceptible to mold infection, and they have high levels of aflatoxins, because when they are stressed in the field, they are also supposed to have the immune system. Once they are stressed in the field because of drought, you know they are likely to be highly contaminated with the fungi, and therefore the levels of aflatoxins will be very high. So you can see that we need balanced, moderate rain, the way it used to be in the past. We used to have our 2 rainy seasons, and we would know very well that we have our 2 rainy seasons, which would come around maybe March, April, and then August up to about November. So that would be actually very, very good, and you would know when to produce, when to harvest crops. But because of climate change, rain can come anytime. You can have El Nino, drought can set in. And I think that's where now government is trying to put emphasis to see that they mitigate the effects of climate change, since we are depending on natural weather to produce and also process and dry our produce on farm. Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you.
sir. That is well explained. I've learned it. And Dean Kruger, my friend in South Africa, has got it. I do think there is Festus Stone Kubirwa, says, thanks, Professor Kaya and the team to teach us about food safety. And I always invite you to brainwash us in Rotary Club of Kisasi, Changia, where we have many farmers. I repeat it. Thanks, Professor Kaya and the team to teach us about food safety. And I always invite you to brainwash us in Rotary Club of Kisasi, Chanja, where we have many farmers. That is for you, Professor.
Yes, I'm willing to go, and at no cost, by the way.
Thank you so much. Now, this is the patriotism. I'm now becoming a Ugandan again. Patriotism. We love the love for our country. Now, thank you so much, sir.
Yep.
There is Kamugisha Alan sent so many messages, by the way. Well done, Kamugisha Alan. There are other messages Dennis I haven't seen, but because of time, we are going to wrap it up and say, give it back to Mr. Kimera to say your parting shot. And of course, Sir Bernard will close with his, and then we shall be out of here. Possibly, Doctor will come back. And I've been told that Madame Agnes will be also back throughout this February to teach us, and we'll learn more from her. Thank you so much. Let us hear from Mr. Kimera. You are parting short, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kato, and our global listeners, watchers, followers. This is very important, listening in and hearing and the messages that are coming in. So, thank you very much. And colleagues, I would like to tell you, food is healthcare, food is medicine. You abuse it, it becomes poison. And like Kato, like you were saying, in Ruwengo, we used to put dry food on the ground. And it is unfortunate that that demised with cancer. But you'll get to know that some of our practice have got long-term effects. At times, the short-term ones, there we can take them very lightly, but the long-term ones are a serious impediment to our health. So, colleagues, let's adhere to food safety, let's adhere to good agricultural practices, and let's make sure that everything good. So thank you very much, colleagues, and next week we are going to be with you still on the subject matter. Like Professor has said, he will be in Chanja, he will be with us again and again until the end of February. Thank you very much, and all the best, colleagues.
Thank you so much, sir. Bambale, your parting shot for today?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mukasa and Professor Kaya and Chimera Henry. The truth is that when it is not safe, it is not food. So our consumers should be really very serious. I always say serious. When you go to a place and you see food is being served to you and you really see signs of unsafe kind of food, then it means if you buy it, then you're buying something else. So please let us be cautious consumers. Let us learn what we eat and let us appreciate that we need to be food safety conscious so that we can prevent ourselves from these chronic illnesses, but also acute illnesses. So food is really healthcare. And so we must be careful with our lives to make sure that we move forward. For our leaders, You need to give us the appropriate leadership to make sure that food that we are giving to the consumers is actually safe, so that governments can spend little money actually in healthcare. If we can prevent all these food-related issues, it means that government can focus on development and other things. Even household level, people will be focusing on socioeconomic development other than going to the hospitals every now and then. So I think for today, we want to thank all our listeners, our viewers, for being out there and for always following us on this discussion, and we shall keep discussing. But also, we have also committed ourselves to always be at your disposal. Anytime you need us, let us know. Professor Kaya has told us to be patriotic, so we are always open to reaching out to our communities. Thank you so much and have a blessed weekend.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm seeing us all becoming patriotic for once, love for our country and our continent and for our world. I have to thank you so much, Professor Kaya, for making the time and educating us. I want to thank, of course, the usual panelists, Mr. Kimera, Mr. Bernard, and of course, Madame Agnes, for making the time. And of course, I think we are going to be able to always meet when we have the time. We are here on Saturdays. The space is there to come and educate us because we are dying. I tell you, we are dying silently. I should tell you this before I end this. Where I grew up in Rengo, we had the best way of keeping our food. We had the ebiaji. You know, Balalo have those, you know this Balalo from our place where I grew up from. And our food was stored properly. We have this biaji thing. They even put maram. No, not maram. There's cow dung. Cow dung, obusa.
Yes.
They do it that way. And our food was safe. But I should tell you, I don't know whether it's modernization or whatever, I no longer see them in my area. Yet growing up in the 80s, we had those viaji with obusa, with cow dung, you know, made properly, big ones, keeping food. And our food was never invaded by insects. But today, we have stores. They simply go and dump it there. I think we are losing it as Africans. We are letting a few things take us and then forget our obligations. Professor, I want to thank you so much again for making the time. I want to thank Mr. Kimena for making the time, and Mr. Bernard for making the time, and of course, Madame Agnes. Please do always share with us. Do always make time to come and educate us. Some of us are very ignorant. So when you come here, we learn. And I want to thank our viewers, many of our viewers on Facebook. Sadly or fortunately, because we have thousands viewing our shows on Facebook and a few viewing our shows on YouTube. I want to encourage our viewers to please also visit our handle, the YouTube handle, because most of you are watching us always live on Facebook. And I want to thank you so much. I don't take that one for granted. Thank you so much, Professor, for making the time again, Mr. Kimera and Mr. Bernard, and Dennis in the studio. See you next Saturday.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Tuungane sote na tushereke pamoja ushindi kwa ukombozi wetu. Tujitoe wenyewe, tusimame pamoja kulinda uhuru na umoja wetu. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote tuimbe pamoja, kuenzi shikamano hatima yetu. Tujitoe wenyewe kupambana pamoja, uhuru na umoja vitawale. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. wakati wa